you get tired on the weekends. But it's important for you to carve out that time for dating. When you've had enough time and you've done your work to heal some of the wounds of your past relationship, when you're ready, just book it into your schedule like you would anything else. Once you've committed to that time, that dating time is happening no matter what. Your kids are a part of the decision, but they can't lead the decision-making process.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. And today our topic is dating as a single mom. You know, I'm there. It's tough. When do you have time to date? Like at 11 o'clock at night once the kids are in bed and all the chores are done? And then there's the effort of getting a babysitter so that you can go out on a date with this guy who isn't half as interesting as your 3-year-old, wearing a dress that said 3-year-old spilled ketchup all over just before you went out. But hey, if he's going to love you, he's got to love the fact you're a mom. But what do you do if you find someone and your kids hate him? You know, it could all be such a mess. And that's why we need Damona. Damona Hoffman is a certified coach, TV personality, and podcaster. You can catch her in A Question of Love on FYI TV or listen into her radio show, Dates and Mates. She's a guest speaker for Match.com, and datingadvice.com named her one of the top dating coaches in LA. Her work has been featured in Newsweek, Woman's Day, Essence Magazine, Ebony Magazine, and the Huffington Post. Welcome, Damona, to the show.
Thanks for having me, Amy.
So here's the situation. Single parent, working all hours of the day and night to make ends meet, exhausted on the weekends. So should we just wait until our kids grow up and leave home before trying to date?
No, absolutely not. This is the prime of your life, ladies, and you don't want to squander this important time. And don't worry, you're going to have plenty of time with your kids. And I'm a mom too, so I absolutely get it. You get tired on the weekends, but it's important for you to carve out that time for dating. When you've had enough time and you've done your work to heal some of the wounds of your past relationship, when you're ready, just book it into your schedule like you would anything else. And it does take a village. So if you need mom or a friend or a babysitter to take the kids, once you've committed to that time, that dating time is happening no matter what.
So I have to ask you about a question or about something you just said. You said healing the wounds from the past. Now, normally when we think about dating again, that is an issue because, we ended up with the kids' father and that didn't work out. So how can we get over the issues that we may have around men so that we can go out and date with a free heart?
Yeah, I went in there real deep right from the beginning, kind of slid it in there, but I'm not getting anything past you. So this is a process, and it's really different for everyone. But one thing that might provide a mental shift for some of your viewers is that each relationship is an opportunity to learn and grow and discover more about yourself and lead you further on that path towards the relationship of your dreams. So even if you married a total jerk and he didn't treat you the way that you wanted to be treated, getting out of that relationship is a gift, and having the ability to do it differently the next time is also a gift in it's like your journey of self-discovery. So don't look at it like it was wasted time. There's nothing that's wasted time. It's more of a growth opportunity.
One of the hard things when you're going back into the dating field, especially if you were married for a long time, is that now your identity is a divorced single mom. And that can sometimes feel like a badge of shame. You know, it shouldn't anymore. We're in the modern day, but it's people treat you differently. It feels like people treat you differently when you say, yeah, I'm divorced and I've got kids. So how do we talk to a potential date about our past?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. And I have worked with a lot of women who are divorced and coming back into finding love, and being not just divorced, but divorced with kids does put you in a different category. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are men that will not date you because you have kids. There are men that will not date you because you have baggage from a past relationship. And that's okay, because those are not the men that you want anyway. And there's a huge, huge group of eligible bachelors that either have kids themselves or have been divorced as well, or that really want a family, and maybe some of them miss the opportunity to have one, and you actually represent the ability for him to have the family that he wants. I think we get it in our heads that women are the caretakers and men don't really, there's no men that really want to have a partnership or a commitment or a family. And there are a lot of guys, I work with men as well, and there are a lot of guys that are really driven by that, particularly as they get into their late 30s and 40s and sometimes even 50s. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're broken if they haven't met the right person. And we can talk about, how to filter and break down whether someone is right for you to go on a date with or not. But there are a lot of great guys out there. And if you approach it from that abundance mindset, like, the options abound, especially with online dating, which is my favorite way to expand your dating pool when you're especially coming into it after being divorced and having your social circle already set and needing to branch it out again.
So let's talk about online dating then, because that is probably the easiest way for single moms to dip their toes in the water, because you can do it at 11 o'clock at night once the chores are done and the kids are in bed. But there's a couple things you got to think about as a single mother. One of the big things that I remember learning was that you should never post pictures of your kids because you could attract pedophiles, which is just scary from the get-go. So how can we create these online profiles that are attractive without stepping into some of these traps?
So let's be real for a second, because people do say a lot of scary things about online dating. But if you really look at the statistics, the number of pedophiles that have trolled online for pictures of children on a dating site and then ended up becoming a predator of them, it's one of those fantasy stories that gets blown up in your head and creates a wall that prevents you from moving into the path that you want to be on or that you should be on. Okay, so yes, there are some scammers and online dating can be unsafe, but meeting a guy in a bar can be unsafe. Meeting someone at a mixer can be unsafe. So no one is going to be fully 100% vetted for you. However, I do recommend that you keep your children out of your dating profile for another reason, Amy. I believe that you are the star of your profile. And anyone that detracts from your starring moment, be it children, be it other friends, girlfriends, be it boyfriends, like everyone has seen that picture of the guy with the arm like cut right here. And you're like, who's on the other side of that arm? And it just, for men especially, it drives them crazy. They don't want to even think about another guy was on that arm before. So if you look at it from that perspective, your dating profile is designed to draw the ideal matches into you, and you do the selecting of who you want to meet from there. And if you have anything drawing attention away from you and your greatness, you're hurting your chances of meeting someone online. Doesn't mean you don't say that you have a child in your written part of your profile, but don't make it a focal point. It's not sexy. He's trying to see you as a sexual partner. If you have your child there, I mean, I don't have to spell it out for you. It's a little bit awkward, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's say that we've been doing our online dating. We've met someone. Now it's that first date, and our kids are saying, "Mommy, where are you going out tonight? Why do we have to be with a babysitter?" What do you tell them?
mommy's going out. It's not necessarily their business. Like, you don't need, I was once told by a coach for parenting coach that you only give your children the information they need to know at that time. And we tend now to think of it as, I don't want to be shot down the way many of our parents did. Children are to be seen and not heard in previous generations. Now it's like, children must know everything, and we don't want to leave them out. So we tell them more than they can really process at the moment. So mommy's going out. Mommy has plans. She's going out to dinner with a friend, or she's meeting a friend for a drink, a cup of coffee, and she'll be home soon. That's all they need to know at the early stage. And believe me, I get it. Like, we went out last night, my husband and I, and my kids are like, why do I need a babysitter? So it doesn't matter if you're going on a date, if you're going out with a spouse, if you're going to a business meeting, the kids are going to ask that, and you just give them the information that answers that specific question at that time.
That's great. Okay, so let's move on to the next stage. So we have met someone and we think, whoa, this guy's good. This guy's good. At some point, there's going to need to be introductions, and maybe, he's got kids too. And so everybody's going to have to meet. How do we do that?
Not too soon is my short answer for that. I have had clients in the past who thought, well, we'll do a little play date, and then we'll know right away if my kid gets along with his kid and if the Brady Bunch thing is going to actually happen. And I look at that as playing way too far ahead. First, you need to figure out if the two of you have a connection before you bring your children into it. And the thing that's really unique for single parents dating is that your kids are a part of the decision, but they can't lead the decision-making process. So you really have to also think about how they bond with someone and how they make a relationship with someone. And you don't want to bring someone into their life too early on, have them bond with that person and form a relationship, and then rip them away. So wait until you really feel like this is someone who's going to be in my life for a while. You don't have to know if you're going to get married, but this is someone that's going to be in my life for a while. And maybe that's after 3 months or 6 months or a year. You set that timeline and think of it as beginning a relationship with your partner and the child as well.
I love that. I read somewhere that one expert recommended 2 years after separation or divorce, just to give the kids time to process, because it's quite hard. All kids want mommy and daddy to get back together again. And you can't ever feed that dream, but they never let go of it. Even if you don't feed that dream, there's always part of them that thinks, I really, really want my parents back together again. So that often leads into the next stage, which is once they do meet this person, even though they may really like that person, their immediate attitude is, this is a betrayal of my dad. And this is a destruction of my fantasy that my parents are going to get back together again. So what do you do if your kids put their feet down and say, I'm having nothing to do with this person?
There's a high likelihood they're going to say that. And it often will have nothing to do with that person and more to do with, like you said, the dissolution of their vision of their parents getting back together, or the roles that they had defined in their minds for their parents' relationship. And you're the parent. You cannot let your kids dictate your decisions, but you have to keep your kids in mind when you are making these choices. So, I would say just to really take a step back, I don't know that there is a particular timeline. I think for some people it is 2 years. And I think for some people it's 6 months. It's when you're ready to move into that relationship. And you can't give up your parental role. You're the one making the decisions for the family. So if you've decided that someone is going to be your partner, you're bringing your child into that decision, but not letting them steer it.
Okay, so I want to turn this around and say, what are some of the benefits of you as a single mother going out and dating again and finding someone. How can that bring more to your life with your child?
Yeah, now we're getting to the good stuff.
Yeah.
I love this. I see so many positives in dating. It will help your self-esteem. It will help your communication. And you can really feel like a woman again. Going through the process of divorce and maybe even being in a loveless marriage or one that didn't make you feel good about yourself is extremely detrimental to a woman's self-esteem and psyche. And if you can discover that there are men out there that find you attractive still, and there are, and there's a man for every body type, you know, maybe you don't look the same way you did in your 20s when you met your spouse, but there's a guy out there that thinks that you're gorgeous, and you don't want to deprive him of the opportunity to spend time with you. And you really will get that feedback and see that life didn't end with your divorce. It's just beginning again.
And one of the other things that I really think is important is kids learn when they're really young how a man and a woman are. So they learn by watching their parents. So if they've watched you and their dad, they may think that when a man and woman are together, they fight a lot. They may not like each other very much. There's a lot of tension. And so one of the wonderful things about you going into a relationship is the ability to retrain your children that relationships are about two people who love each other, respect each other, appreciate each other, and are affectionate with each other.
Yes, and it's never too late to rewrite your story. And just because you had a different experience with their father doesn't mean that your next relationship has to fall into that same pattern. You have to enter it mindfully and really wanting the kind of relationship that you just described. But it's super important. On my podcast just recently, we did a Q&A segment, and that was one of the questions: what did you learn from your parents about marriage? And I've gotten so many comments on my Instagram page where I posted the question, because you are learning the whole time from your parents' marriage. My parents split up, and now I'm a dating and relationship coach, but I learned a lot from them about how to be successful in a relationship because I saw what didn't work. But you're always leaving these imprints for your children along the way, and I don't think any mom here has any pretense about that. But you do have to keep that in mind. And like you said, the last relationship, if it wasn't positive, that may be what they remember about relationships.
You talked about your podcast. So let's learn a little bit more about that. You've got a weekly show called Dates and Mates. You're on A Question of Love, FYI TV, and you're a dating coach. Like, how do you have any time?
And I'm a mom.
Wow.
Which is, like I always say, people ask me to do certain things over the weekend, and I'm like, well, my other job starts 5 p.m. on Friday. So I think you get that. I love love, and I love helping people feel the way that I do in my relationship. And I was a bit of a cynic about love, Amy, believe it or not. I didn't really believe that what I have now would be possible. And through online dating and through coaching, I was able to build a dream life and have a husband that really supports me in my endeavors. I wouldn't be able to do half of this stuff without him. And I want that for everyone else, to have a partner that really uplifts them and makes them the best version of themselves. So I've been doing it for 12 years, and hopefully I'll be doing it for 20, 30 more.
That's fabulous. So for those of you watching, if you want to check out Damona's work, we've got a link for you. Just go to yourbrilliance.org/Damona. And when you go there, make sure and check out her free gift for singles called the Texting 10 Commandments. So again, that's yourbrilliance.org/Damona. Now, Damona, we're coming up to the end, and thank you so much for being on the show and clarifying some of this stuff for us. It's fabulous. I wanted to know if there was any kind of last message you'd like to leave us with.
I want everyone to know that communication is really at the core of any great relationship. That's actually why I'm offering your listeners the Texting 10 Commandments, because so many people were coming to me saying, I don't get this whole texting thing. I don't want to text, but it's now a part of our communication. And this is also something that I worked on with the couples all season on A Question of Love. So whether it's digital communication and figuring out how to build chemistry and connection through the typed word, whether it's sitting down in front of a partner and getting to know what you need to know about them and building the foundation of a solid relationship, or even just having that dialogue with yourself, communication is at the key. And if you can get out ahead of any issues by talking about them before they happen, then you can save yourself a lot of strife. And sometimes those issues are going on in here as well. So communicate with yourself regularly too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Damona. And for those of you watching, thanks so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Until then, let your brilliance shine.